Yeah, go. Essay. Good evening, and welcome to my last one for tonight. By the way, guys, um, we are waiting for Mark Memphis, and also we have got another guest with us tonight, the one and only David Black. Hello, David. How are you?
Hello, Steve. How are you doing? I see you got your the introduction, the one I like, Road.
Oh yeah,
That's
but
my favourite one. That's my favourite one.
yeah, we've got a few, but the trouble is at the moment, we've been having problems with them because it keeps sticking, so we need to look into that.
Oh,
So
okay. Well,
I've got a team meeting at 9:30, so I will get on to them about that.
okay. The Road.
We're
I do
just,
like the Road one.
yeah, it's quite good actually. That's why we did it for, and it's we're just waiting for Mister Memphis. He's probably on his way on his horse.
Okay, no problem.
So um, yeah. So why I asked you and Mark on for tonight for
Yeah,
is to talk about mental illness because
yeah, hundred
men-
percent.
mental illness is a big problem at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. More than people realise, I think, Steve, because it doesn't really get that much of a mention in the media that much. I mean, it is a bit more so, but yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I think, as I said to you, Steve, especially with doing, meeting lots of new people through doing the Elvis online, and obviously I've been very open about my own problems, and I think it's allowed other people. That's given them the confidence because they've seen me come forward and basically say how I felt, what was going on in my head. It's made a lot of people give me the confidence to say, "Oh, right, yeah." They felt comfortable to say, "Yeah, I've got a problem as well." And as I said, there's a lot of people out there. A lot of
Yeah.
people. I think, as I said to you before, Steve, I think we had a problem before the pandemic, but I think it's got worse, obviously during the lockdown. You know,
Oh yeah, of
um,
course. I've just done my own work. It's got here 21,000 has actually asked for support
yeah,
for mental health. They actually contacted the mind for support.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. As I said, it's the only good thing, Steve, for me. Um, well, you know yourself, Steve. It's unfortunate for some people. They're born with a medical condition. They've got a chemical imbalance, and they have to take tablets regardless to to even things out. I had to go on the pills because I was in such a bad state. But I think what it is, Steve, once you can work out what the problem is and try to resolve it, then I've come off the medication, thankfully, Steve. There's nothing wrong. If you need to take it, you need to take it. But as I said, I've come off of it because I felt I was in a better place of sorting what was causing the problem out, and I wasn't in that environment anymore. So I've come off the pill. I mean, I must have been off the pills now a month, no side effects, don't feel any different, just feel, obviously,
Mm.
we don't feel 100% every day, but yeah, nothing like I was. That was, I said, that, and that's the bit I think Steve has said that's the frightening bit because you know what it's like to be in that horrible zone. I think that's the only thing that frightens me. You don't want to go back there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
is
yeah,
Mark here? Oh, he is.
yeah.
I'm here. Hello there.
Hello,
Hello.
Mark. Right?
Yeah, a few technical problems, but anyway, here we are.
Yeah. This is Dave. This is Dave. Dave Black. I don't know if you heard of him, Mark.
I've heard the name, but hello, Dave.
Hello, Mark. I was in good terms. If it was anything bad, it was all lies, Mark. It was all
Ah,
lies.
there you go. You see.
Fine. We kind of like we just been talking about mental health and everything,
Mhm.
and about depression. About people's mental health. And you wanted to come on also because you wanted to speak about mental health.
Yeah,
Did you go through it yourself?
I'm going through it right now. I've been going through it, I think, since the day I was born. It's something I live with every day.
Right.
Do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently taking medication for anxiety and also depression. Like I say, it's something that I've lived with all my life as long as I can remember. Really, I think the anxiety is the sort of like the foundation of everything, and that just has like a knock-on effect. It rolls over and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and sometimes it can overwhelm you, and it can make you feel depressed. And when you go through things in your life which are quite stressful, it can get bad.
Have you been to? Have you ever got to your worst where like you've been like suicidal?
I have had, I've certainly had days when I've not wanted to be here, and I've had nights when I've gone to bed and crossed my fingers very tightly and hoped that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. I've had times like that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think that triggers it? Because um, we'll speak to Dave in a minute, but Dave said a long time ago to me when I last interviewed him about this. He said he gets triggers now and again that does it. How about you? What makes you kind of like, is it because of there's no work or, there's kind of lack of money or whatever?
Well, as I say, anxiety seems to be the absolute bottom line of it. And things like that, the past year hasn't helped at all. I'm self-employed, and the line of work that I do, singing in pubs and
Yeah.
clubs, it's just been completely wiped away.
Yeah.
And so you can get very depressed about that. And then on top of that, you have like all the added things. Something that you enjoy doing is taken away from you. You're worried about money. You're worried about you feel, because I've been on universal credit. It's the first time I've had to claim benefits while I've been self-employed, and I'm not saying I'm any better or any worse than anybody, but I always prided myself on being able to earn my own money, and all of a sudden that's taken away from you. So going back to your question about triggers and things, I think that's pretty much the case with me anyway. So what if something comes along which is quite calamitous? The inner anxiety that I will always have, which I have to fight very hard every day to control, that tends to set the whole thing off rolling. But on the other side of the coin, going back to the past year, I've been for various therapy sessions, stress pack, cognitive behavior therapy, and what have you. And there's certain things that you pick up, and I've put those into practice over the last year, and I think I've done quite well, really. 10 years ago, if this had happened, I'd have just completely crumbled. I'd have been a complete unmanageable mess.
Yeah. Dave, because you're in music too, you're like an Elvis
Yeah.
tribute artist. And
The
it
only,
has. We have had you two. It's probably been kind of like you've had your problems this year, because of the COVID and everything. How mentally do you feel at this moment in time?
me at the moment, I feel, I was saying, just want to ask Mark, see, slight difference between my situation as Mark's was, Monk, I wasn't relying, I had a job, Mark, so obviously I would have regular money. I could tell you what what caused my problem, Mark. Just want to ask that, Mark. Did you find could you when you was ill, could you still pick up the microphone and practice?
Yeah, I had it put to me that I was highly functioning.
Right.
And I think that's a skill that I picked up as a child. Really, I used to hate going to school.
Okay.
And I hated going to school because I was bullied for various things.
Right.
For the things I enjoyed, because I didn't like football, because I didn't chase girls. So going to school was a very stressful thing, but it was something I had to do. The first jobs I had were quite horrendous, and again, you just force yourself to go.
Yes. Yeah.
I tend to do what I have to do, and when I have been really, really, really ill, I've just taken myself off to bed after I've done what I've had to do, and I've spent whole weekends in bed, just completely exhausted.
Thing is, what I found, Mark, I didn't realise, because I hadn't done the Elvis that long, and it was going very well from 2018. That's when I started it. For a kid, I'm not really, as I say, I've always wanted to be a paid entertainer. I do Elvis because it's marketable. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I could do the voice. I was just an impersonator when I was younger. And I never thought I'd be doing something that I really wanted to do in my late 40s. So it started going well, 2019. The bookings was going well. And I was having problems elsewhere. But the Elvis was like escapism, was like a barrier. Do you know what I mean? It was like no one could touch me because I was so focused on doing Elvis, nothing else mattered. And obviously, once the COVID came, and it was like a shock. Like, I wasn't ever worried about getting ill. It was what they took away, So all I'm doing, I remember, I'm going home, I'm going to work, I'm coming home, and I'm thinking to myself, I've got nothing to look forward to. This is not what it's all about. And in the end, I said I could still pick up. I could still pick up the microphone and practice. Not go online at all. I think I've done it once in March last year, but it was mainly I was in such a bad state. I could go on, I could practice. I'll tell you how bad it was, Mark. It was like, like obviously, yourself. We're all members and we join loads of different Elvis sites on Facebook. Every time I see someone post a picture, normally, I'm very sociable. I'll communicate with people on there. I just couldn't. Every time I see the picture of Elvis Presley, it made me feel sick. Do you know what I mean? It's I still wanted to sing his songs and practice because it helped. For that hour, the anxiety lifted. As soon as you put the microphone down, it came back again. And so I remember going to work, and I knew I had a problem. I admitted I had a problem, and they got me to this outside firm that dealt with emotional problems. They were rubbish. It carried on. See, originally, I thought to myself, I can beat this. Get out of my head. My man, I could beat this. It was so bad. And I think, and it probably happens to you, Mark, as well, crying. Did you ever have that? And I think, when I think about it now, the crying is a sign of desperation because it's so bad and you can't beat it. You just cry. You think, because it's, yourself, the worst time is the morning. You wake up and it just punches you in the face. It's also bad late at night because, when you go to bed, you know what you got coming in the morning. Does that make sense, all this? And well, it's 24 hours, 7, as you know, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And eventually, I was breaking down at work. And it's the most ridiculous things emotionally. I think how I see it is we've all got like a logical side and an emotional side. When the emotional side takes over your logical side, that's when you've got a problem because the emotions just tell you nonsense. They just tell you absolute rubbish, And I had a little bit of logic left. And I remember I was off the weekend and I kept crying. I phoned up the doctor. Doctor said, "Well done for phoning me, David." And he said, "Your boots are your pills will be at Boots up the road in a few minutes." Now, I was on the pills. It stopped the crying, I still had the anxiety, but overall, what it done was for me, it sort of it doesn't take your problem away. It just allows you to see it in a logical light rather than an emotional light. You know, because I mean, I can remember. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it to you. I remember I couldn't watch telly, wasn't interested. You know, I know you said you're not into football, but I am. I mean, I've been into football since I was 10. Not interested in my team, couldn't care less. Don't care. They get relegated, couldn't care less. I remember going into the other room and Sky News was on, and when Boris Johnson got taken to hospital because of COVID, I burst into tears, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Now, that won't bother me normally. Oh, I don't want no one to be ill, but your brain is so overwhelmed with emotions, the least little thing, and you just break down. And I think as well, I don't know what you guys think of this. Obviously, it's new. You know, it's pandemic. No one's ever experienced it. I think what didn't help the PR that a media put out, because obviously Boris Johnson has to do his speeches. It was these two old fossils standing next to him with these miserable faces, giving you data and graphs. Now, you know yourself, the average person on the street ain't got a clue about data, graphs. They just want some positivity, you know, and I think that didn't help either. Watching them two all the time with, you know, and it seemed like for me, they were getting off on it, telling you, oh, this ain't going away. You're going to be stuck for another year. And obviously, as you know, Mark, when you're relying on going out for clubs and pubs or weddings or whatever, or hospitality, to be open to go back to work, you know, it just made it even worse. You know, as I said, we're going back into a new, once we go back, it's like a reset. You know, no one really knows what's going to happen. You know, we don't know how good it's going to be again. As I said, this, you know, I'm just thinking to myself, like, once you get a few bookings. I've got a few bookings. Once we get started back out there, as you know yourself, Mark, this job's word of mouth. You know, you must have had it where you're in a pub, a couple of people afterwards, you're really good, mate. It's my mum's 60th birthday in August. How much you charge? Can you available? As you know, until you get very known, but this job's word of mouth. So we, you know, same with the establishments. You know, they haven't taken a penny for a whole year or a bit. You know, are they going to take a gamble on paying someone to come in when they don't know if they're going to take any money themselves? So we're going into the unknown, I think. You know, I'm just hoping that once we get back to normal, this will be just a thing of the past, and we just, you know, in years to come, we think 2020 was just a bad year, something to forget. But no, that was a bad state, real bad state I was in. But thankfully, I'm off the pills now, Mark. I'm off the pills.
All right, okay.
I think
Mark. Sorry, I need to speak to Mark. Do you know when you kind of like when I asked you a question earlier about mental illness and were you on the verge of being suicidal?
Yeah.
I remember when I was wanting to jump off a bridge. Okay, I wanted to end my life, jump off a bridge, and that was it. Then they sectioned me under 21 of the Mental Health Act, and I was in a psychiatric unit. And the truth is, people will have a lot of stigma about mental health. They think, oh well, if you've got mental health problems, you're nutter and all that lot, right? But that's not the case, all right? And sometimes we go through problems, and sometimes people say, oh yeah, you need counselling, you need this, but the only person you can sort yourself out is yourself. You know, a doctor can't come up to you and go, oh yeah, if you went up to a doctor and said, right, I'm suffering from depression, he can say, okay, and look at you and go, right, okay, there's the tablets, get on with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you feel at this moment in time? Do you feel?
I feel. I think I've spoke to you about this before, Steve. And sort of like touching on what Dave said about the future. Certainly, as far as I'm concerned with what I do, because I'm pretty much in the same boat. Wondering what the future's going to hold. Are the bookings going to be there? Am I going to have to take a cut in pay because the the pubs and the clubs have obviously been hit, and that's going to rebound back on us. Through the cognitive behaviour therapy that I've had, I don't know either way if it's going to be good, if it's going to be a struggle. I'm choosing to tell myself that it's going to be 80% of what it was, and it was good before the pandemic. I was reasonably busy, and with bookings and what have you. I've got two choices. I can either tell myself it's going to be horrible, or I can tell myself it's going to be okay, because I don't have any information either way to point me towards what will happen. And that's why I think I've done reasonably well over the last year, because I've chosen to sort of latch onto that. And the signs are there that it is going to be okay, because I also have bookings. Yeah. My fears about having to take a cut in pay haven't materialised yet with these bookings I've got, because some of them are direct bookings with pubs I've sang at before, some of them with agents that have booked me before, and the money's exactly the same. All they're waiting for is to find out, the pubs that haven't given me a booking yet. They're telling me, let's wait until May. And if it looks like we are heading towards normality, then get in touch with us after the 17th of May, and we'll definitely give you a booking, because they got stung last year. All the pubs and clubs, they spent all that money making their premises COVID safe, and as far as I was concerned, the pubs and clubs that I was singing at in those few months we had off from lockdown last year, they were the most safe places on the planet, because I go in supermarkets and I think, what the hell? I pick my my young, he's going to be 10 shortly, from school in the playground, and I think, what the hell? I'm walking through the street and there's people walking virtually on top of me. This has been the case over the last few months, and I think, what the hell? And it was only in pubs where I saw people keeping a distance, where there was some sort of a system and some sort of a discipline. So there we go.
See, the trouble is, I've seen some pubs. I went down the about a few weeks ago, and some of the pubs were chucking their beer out in the road, down the drain. Yeah. And I, it's lucky that I didn't have Dave with me, because we could have picked up a couple of barrels and taken it back with us. But they lost money. You don't realise is the pubs and the clubs lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And some of them, I know a pub club here, and what they did is that instead of selling beer and everything, they were selling like takeaway, and also kind of like fruit and veg and everything, just to keep afloat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But going back to your point, Steve, before about the ability to deal with life if you're depressed, and the ability to make it to the next day and get through it. It does ultimately lie with yourself, because all the counselling, all the medication in the world is, it's a crutch really. And it's all about how you approach things and how the world appears to be from the vantage point that you sat on. Some people are very, very lucky that they're not particularly sensitive. And I'm going to use a word here, and I don't mean it to be derogatory, but there's like an intelligence which is perhaps lacking, where the world is what it is and they'll take it as it comes. And there's people like that, and I wish to God I was really that uncomplicated, So if you've got a frame of mind, there are certain things that you can do. There's certain things you can tell yourself, which cognitive behaviour therapy, they can give you certain tools to put in your toolbox, and they might not be apparent straight away, and you might come away from your 6 sessions thinking, that was a complete waste of time. I still feel the same. I still feel hopeless. I still feel like bad things are going to happen.
Do you have to pay for that?
No, I got that. I was referred to that through my doctor.
Because I'll tell you why. It's because, I don't know if you know this, but all my guests who comes on here we always got a counsellor on standby.
Mhm.
And she's a beautiful counsellor, a really good counsellor. She's called Susan Lee. And we have her on a Monday. And she's a proper counsellor. And because when we do things like this, we've got to have a counsellor.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're talking about different things, as you know. So we've got to have a counsellor on board. And she does everything free of charge. And she's really, really good. So
Yeah.
please put that in mind,
Yeah.
that there is help, there. Just, all you got
Yeah.
to do is just say, Steve, give me the number, and you can bring them up.
Right. But I mean, going back to like the tools in the toolbox, so you come away and you think that was a waste of time. I still feel the same. But things like buses not coming on time, that used to really, really pull me into despair. I'd be thinking, I'm going to be late. The world is going to end. And the whole, everything would be so calamitous. And then I started thinking to myself, hang on, the world isn't going to end. What's the worst that will happen? The worst that will happen is I'll walk in 10 minutes late and I'll say, sorry, I'm late. The bus didn't come. And they'll say, oh, a little bit like coming on the show late, because I had a little bit of a technical issue. My Wi-Fi was playing up. But there's little things which you can use and you can sort of like try and shoehorn into everyday situations, because it's all about how you look at things. Like I say, the vantage point that you're sat at, looking at the world around you. If it isn't a particularly nice view, you actually do have the power to sort of like shift your bottom around and look that way instead. But I do appreciate, and that sounds quite glib, and it's not a glib thing, because it's the bottom line truth. I know what it's like to sit up from at my vantage point and look out and just see nothing but hopelessness and blackness and not wanting to be here anymore. So I understand how that is, and there are times when I sail close to the wind, to that frame of mind, that way of thinking at the moment, and I have to really, really pull myself back.
Yeah. By the way, Mark, but the bus is being late. You have to blame Dave at the top there, because he used to work on the buses or be a
right.
Yeah, only in London. Only in
Your
London.
fault.
Yeah.
Well, if you got a bus in London, yeah, that's yeah. It's a bit different from around the country. The buses in London work slightly different. They're all done from all run on, because there's so many, and they're all run on GPS, and it's a bit like air traffic control on the ground. So it's a bit different to where. Yes.
Sorry, I'm curious to know. You mentioned on medication anymore. Was that your decision or your doctor's decision? You said you're no longer on the tablets.
My decision.
Your decision.
I haven't had I know what you're saying, Mark. I haven't had. Thing is, I haven't had no ill side effects. Where I've gone back into it, because I think I'm only thinking logically. Once you can work out what the problem is, yeah, and you can sort it out, you don't need the pills. Yeah. However, as I said before you got on here, there's people, like, I can assume when you were saying that you've had it from a very young age. Unfortunately, I never did. Unfortunately, it is an illness where, because obviously your brain's made up of chemicals. If you've got a chemical imbalance, and that's nothing to do with what's happening in life. That's just like, some people are born with a medical condition, and some people will have to take pills for the rest of their life to level out the chemicals, because no different to diabetes or whatever illness that you have to take, thyroid problem. We have to take a pill for the rest of your life because your body, has gone a bit wrong, I suppose. But for me, I said, I'm telling you now, I am the last person in the world to thought I would take to take antidepressants, but I thought myself, talking to people, they say talk to someone. One, when it comes to that, it's a bit like smoking or drinking. Yeah, we know it's bad for you, and when people say you need to give it up, you've got to want to give it up, not someone telling you, because we know it's bad. And it's no different to when someone says you need to go and talk to someone. You do, but when it suits you to talk, you can't be forced into talking to someone. And as I said, I spoke to someone. It helps a little bit for the 20 minutes, half hour you're on the phone. As soon as you put the phone down, you're back in the same position again. I knew I needed medication because I knew I needed something to sort my mind out, you know.
Yeah.
So I was put on medication, and as I said, what it does was it gets rid of all the emotional faults and makes you look at the problems, break it down more logically, and that's what it done. And I sorted one problem out, which was the main cause of it, and yeah, we move on, you know. Happy days, hopefully. You know, as I said, I've come off them. I haven't had no ill effects. But as I said, some people, maybe like yourself, I don't know, Mark, you may have to take pills because you have got, unfortunately, a permanent medical condition that you were born with.
Yeah.
You know, did you say you have had it from a kid?
Yeah,
mental health issues.
Yeah, but I didn't seek help until I was 41. So
Right. No, what I mean is, did you have the? God, sorry, man. Sorry.
No, sorry, go on.
Did you have how you're feeling or how you felt? Have you had these feelings since a child?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we have to assume then you're unfortunately you're born with, unless you had a real bad traumatic experience, because the majority of stuff, you know, I used to do psychology, and a lot of the stuff is it's what happens in your childhood, and as you get older, it's a bit like in our minds, it stores everything up. And how I explain it is, it's a bit like we've all got buckets, Mark. Everyone's got a bucket. Some are bigger than others. Once that bucket overfills, you get overwhelmed. So that's when you're in a problem. You know, that's when you've got a problem. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Can I ask if you two want to kind of like have a talk together? That's really good. But can I just end this now because I've got a meeting?
Yeah.
See? Is that all right?
Yeah. See you later.
All right. So it's a very important meeting I've got to go to, and it's okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining me.
No problem.
Thank
Dave,
you, Steve.
Thank you.
really good. And I'd like to get these back again because it's a good conversation about talking about mental health, and we're all different. And remember, mental illness is not a disease. It's not.
No, we know.
And and we've got to remember that. But at the end of the day, we are just us. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on.
Okay.
No problem.
Bye bye. Where's my hand? There it is. Bye bye.
I'll leave you two
Nice
on
meeting you,
here.
Okay.
All right.